So, in tonight's pile of fringe literature that I've assembled here, I have notes from the Hangar. Now, this is an interesting, very short, quick read that's a reprint of a lot of the more obscure UFO parapolitical material from the very late 80s, early 90s. And this version, this was basically compiled. I don't even know if it has a date when this. Okay, so the original Notes from the Hangar was published in 1991, but this is edited by Jim Keith. It's a lot of different authors in this and investigators in this, but I found this because I was digging into a lot of the Dulce base scenario, the Dulce base in New Mexico, about the underground base there. And interesting enough, there's a lot of the material in this I recognized from when my dad first got some Xeroxed papers that were floating around, and which is interesting that he worked for a major telecom company back in the early 90s. And the idea that these upper level executives were passing around some of this information, I find intriguing. But anyway, if you're a Jim Keith purist, you will definitely want to get this. But this is, I think I found this on Amazon, and I don't know if it's going for any kind of crazy price. I doubt it. But it has some good information about Dulce, has some really good information, a quick little blurb about UFO disinformation. And given the date when this was published, that's really interesting, because one of the things he's talking about here, this was pretty close on the heels of a relatively famous UFO author at the time, William Moore, came forward I believe in 1989 at a MUFON convention in 1989, came forward and announced that he had been deliberately putting disinformation into the UFO community, and that they should watch out. And that in and of itself is very interesting and also deserves dissecting, because if you are a disinfo agent, outing yourself as a disinfo agent is in itself a potential act of disinformation. So there's a lot of very fascinating stuff there. But again, if you're a purist about digging into the Dulce base and New Mexico stuff, and there's some interesting writing about Wilhelm Reich. There's an article on him by Adam Parfrey, and who of course is famous, or not famous, but known from Feral House. I think he was the guy that ran Feral House Press. But anyway, overall, a lot of the information is repeated in some other sources, but there is some unique things here and there through this. I've dog-eared a few things in here about some stuff about mind control and stuff like that. But again, if you're a Jim Keith purist, Jim Keith put out a lot of stuff it was like just cranking the stuff out of a machine. He wrote a lot of books on mind control, and he is alleged to have been the infamous Commander X. There were a lot of books released in the 90s under the pseudonym of Commander X, and allegedly that was Jim Keith, who then died under kind of weird circumstances on the operating table in, I believe, 1999. So anyway, I stumbled across this when I was going through my library today. I'm trying to slowly get all my books organized, and at some point I need to do an actual tour through some of the books and let you all see some of this stuff and how I try to keep my library organized. Before I moved, I had things organized a lot better, and now I've moved, so everything's kind of thrown into disarray, and I'm trying to get my organizing back in order. So anyway, Notes from the Hangar, originally from 1991, and this is a reprint that I think somebody just compiled and printed on the Amazon. But anyway, from 1991, edited by Jim Keith, but again, a variety of authors here.